After the financial hub Shanghai has been shut down for 4 weeks now over COVID worries, or the latest death toll there was 39 cases. Now China's capital Beijing is testing millions of residents and also beginning to shut down residential and business districts. Well, the impact of that is happening on global markets and Indian markets as well, which are tumbling.
Mass testing in China's capital Beijing and residents stockpiling food amid a COVID surge and the possibility of a strict lockdown like in multiple other cities, including the financial hub of Shanghai. While only a little over 40 cases have been reported from Beijing, a city of more than 21 million people, since Friday, authorities have already implemented extreme measures, like a strict stay-at-home diktat in a central district where 10 middle school students tested positive over the weekend.
我觉得北京可以的，没问题的。而且我觉得之前接触的社区什么的，我觉得如果真的出现了这种就是比较紧急的情况，我觉得供应应该有保障的。而且之前全国其他城市也有相应的这个教训的，我觉得大家应该会做好准备的。
Elsewhere in Beijing, long queues in supermarkets at the city center as shoppers snapped up rice, noodles, vegetables and other produce, while store workers scrambled to restock some empty shelves.
没想过，就是还是希望不会像上海那样吧，就是储备一点。平时我们也能吃这些。
In Shanghai, the Chinese city worst hit by this wave of COVID-19, shopping malls are back in business by providing online delivery services, as the strict lockdown in the city of 25 million people continues. Shanghai reported 39 COVID deaths on Sunday, its highest daily toll despite weeks of lockdown. Officials have struggled to provide fresh food to those confined at home, while patients have reported trouble accessing regular medical care. Bureau Report, NDTV.
Well, let's go across live to Shamim Zakaria, senior journalist joining me from Beijing. Mr. Zakaria, what exactly is the situation in Beijing tonight? We've already seen that global markets are rattled, but what's it like for residents of Beijing and journalists like yourself tonight?
Hi. So Beijing did report a minor resurgence in cases recently, and as I speak to you today, in total 70 cases have been reported, including 29 that's reported today in the afternoon. So when you talk about Beijing, not the entire city is not affected. There are certain districts which has been identified as hotspots. So the place where I stay, it is one of the biggest districts here. It is called Chaoyang district. So our district has been particularly affected. So we have been asked to undergo nucleic acid testing, which is the COVID testing. So we have to do 3 rounds of testing. So the first round of testing has already been done. And the day after tomorrow and on the 29th, the second and the third round of testing will respectively be carried out. And in terms of the situation, it remains pretty normal. Life is flying smoothly. Even today I have attended office. So only the places which have been identified as having close contacts of positive cases, they have been put under, in China they use this term called closed loop management, where only people who are residents of that particular community are allowed to go out for buying essentials, and no other people are allowed to enter. And like in that particular area, all say like recreational centers like movie halls and shopping malls have been shut down.
But are you worried, Mrs. Zakaria, that like we saw in Shanghai, which began with some districts, and then we saw all these videos emerging out of Shanghai where it actually escalated quite rapidly in terms of both the tough quarantine rules, residents being dragged out of flats, and also China trying to focus on zero COVID, which public health experts say is just not a possibility?
Right, sure. So firstly, starting with zero COVID. So China uses this policy called dynamic zero COVID policy, which is not exactly maintaining zero infections, but whenever there are like minor resurgences, they try to stomp out totally the infections, like quarantining people, conducting mass testing. So that's their policy. And as far as I know, there is no compromise with that, because if you hear the leaders that spoke recently, they said that no matter what, people's lives don't come with a price tag. So so that's their statement. So as a result, we can assume that there will be no tweaking with the zero COVID policy. This is here to stay. And now speaking about the situation in Beijing, like when last night after the news started pouring in that there are more cases being reported, I did go and did some, buying some essentials. And that time, yeah, people do have a sense of fear and worry. And it is because they have seen how the situation panned out in Shanghai. So they are worried that a lockdown might be in the offing. And if that happens, there might be shortage of essentials, which is why people were, going to queuing up in shopping malls and supermarkets to buy things. But today, the local government have assured that there is no shortage of supply. And whenever the things run out, they will, stock up the supplies in supermarkets. And even if a community or any area is put under lockdown, they will ensure that residents are supplied with all the basic necessities.
Thanks, Mr. Zakaria, for that. As you said, the initial days, but we will keep coming back to you for updates. I hope you stay safe, your colleagues and family. Thanks very much for joining me from Beijing.